Then the waiter said to Tunde hesitantly,
"It's the water, sir. The secret ingredient. It's water from a river, a very special one. It enhances everything. People say it has magical qualities."
Iya Adebisi's voice echoing in her mind. The water gives, but it also takes. You've taken enough, Tolu. It's time to let go. Ife Tolu was born in Mushin, one of the most vibrant and fast-paced parts of Lagos. Growing up in the city, she was no stranger to the hustle and bustle of urban life. Her family lived in a modest home, surrounded by the daily rhythm of street vendors, the honking of cars and the chatter of neighbors. Yet, despite the chaos of Lagos, there was a deep-rooted sense of community in their neighborhood. People looked out for each other, and every meal shared was a testament to the bond they had. Tolu's mother, Adebimpe, was a woman of striking beauty and grace, but she was also deeply ambitious. She dreamed of more than just being a housewife or a shopkeeper in the busy streets of Mushin. Tolu's father, Babatunde, was a man who worked tirelessly as a civil servant but never seemed to fulfill Adebimpe's high expectations. Their marriage was strained, often marked by silent dinners and tense conversations. Despite their differences, Tolu had always been close to her mother. However, when Tolu was just 5 years old, Adebimpe made a decision that would change the course of their lives. One evening, after a particularly heated argument with Babatunde, Adebimpe packed her bags and left. She left Tolu behind with her father and ultimately her grandmother, Iya Adebisi, who lived in a small village called Ile-Oluji in southwestern Nigeria. Adebimpe didn't come back for years. She promised Tolu she would return soon, but the days turned to months, and the months turned to years. Tolu grew up under the loving but firm care of her grandmother, Iya Adebisi, who was well known in the village for her wisdom and her culinary skills. Iya Adebisi had taught Tolu everything she knew about food, healing, and the ancient art of cooking with herbs and spices. What the villagers didn't know was that Iya Adebisi also used the Ife Odu, a mystical water drawn from the sacred Odu River. This water was said to have been blessed by the gods and was known to heal the sick, empower the weak, and enhance the food prepared with it. Iya Adebisi never shared the secret with anyone except Tolu, who had become her apprentice. Despite the bond she had with her grandmother, Tolu always felt the absence of her mother. She longed to be with Adebimpe, to understand why she left, and to hear the real story behind her mother's departure. One evening, Tolu sat alone under a tree and she was lost in a deep thoughts.
"Why did you leave me, Mama? What was so bad that you couldn't stay? Was I not enough for you?"
As she grew older, the desire to escape her grandmother's home and see the world beyond became stronger. When she turned 25, she made the decision to move to Lagos and open a restaurant of her own. She had learned enough about cooking to make it big, and Ife Odu was her secret weapon. She kept the water in a small flask, hidden away in her bag, only using it when necessary, as her grandmother had taught her. On the day when Tolu left for Lagos, Iya Adebisi, her grandmother, said to her,
"Tolu, this world you are going into, it is different. It is fast, and it takes a lot from you. Don't forget who you are and where you came from. Remember the river and remember the price it takes."
Tolu arrived in Lagos, full of ambition and excitement. The city was everything she had imagined. Bright lights, fast cars, and people rushing in all directions. She settled in Surulere, an urban area that was fast becoming a hotbed for young entrepreneurs. She found a small but cozy building for her restaurant, Tolu's Kitchen, and began the laborious task of setting up her dream. The first few months were difficult. She had to handle everything herself: cooking, managing, and finances, and trying to attract customers. Despite her culinary skills, the competition in Lagos was fierce, with many seasoned chefs and popular restaurants around. But Tolu was determined. She remembered her grandmother's lessons.
The river gives, but it also takes. If you want to rise, You must not just rely on the food, you must use it wisely.
Tolu began making dishes with unique tastes. She combined traditional Yoruba meals with modern flavors. Her jollof rice, pounded yam, and pepper soup were unlike any other. But what really set her apart was the secret ingredients, ife. Whenever the restaurant began to lose its edge, Tolu would take a trip back to Ile-Oluji, walking to the river herself, carrying bottles of water that would bring the food to life. Every time she returned to Lagos with the Ife water, something changed. She felt more powerful, more connected to her roots, and more capable of achieving greatness. But there was also a creeping unease inside her. The food tasted better, yes, but it also seemed to take more from her with each use. One afternoon, Tolu sat alone after a busy day, her hands trembling as she placed the flask of water on the table.
Why do I feel so empty? Is it the water or is it me?
One evening, Chica, a fellow restaurateur who had been a regular customer at Tolu's kitchen, approached her with an offer. Chica had noticed how well the restaurant was doing and was impressed with Tolu's success. She had been struggling with her own business, but she believed that together they could create something unstoppable. Chica was smiling as she walked into Tolu's restaurant.
Tolu, I've been watching you for a while. Your food is incredible, but I can see you're working yourself to the bone. Let me help you. I have experience with managing restaurants. We can make your place a hit citywide.
Tolu, although hesitant, agreed. She had always done everything on her own, but Chica's business acumen was undeniable. Together, they worked tirelessly to make Tolu's kitchen one of the hottest spots in Lagos. As Tolu's kitchen continued to rise in popularity, so did the attention it attracted. There were rumors about the food being enchanted or spiritually blessed. People started coming in from all corners of Lagos, eager to test the magical meals. There was one dish that stood out above all, the ife jollof rice. The customers didn't know it, but the water used in Tolu's kitchen was the key to its extraordinary taste. But with the success came a new set of problems. People began to notice something unsettling. Regular customers came back again and again, craving the dishes as if they couldn't get enough. Some claimed they felt more energized after eating. Others spoke of vivid dreams that left them feeling connected to their ancestors. These were strange side effects and Tolu didn't know how to handle them. One evening, a prominent food critic, Tunde, came into Tolu's kitchen for dinner. He had heard the rumors of the enchanted food, and being the seasoned critic he wasn't one to let a story go unexamined. He ordered the jollof rice and sat quietly, observing. Tunde ate the meal slowly, savoring every bite, but something in the back of his mind kept nagging at him. There was an undeniable flavor, something deeper, more intense, almost spiritual. He wasn't sure how to explain it. He decided to stay longer, observing how people reacted as they ate. Many smiled, some even closed their eyes in ecstasy. Tunde said to the waiter with a raised eyebrow,
"Tell me, what's the secret to the food here? There's something different, something mystical."
The waiter glanced nervously at Tolu, who was working behind the counter. She hadn't seen Tunde walk in, but now she could feel his eyes on her. Then the waiter said to Tunde hesitantly,
It's the water, sir. The secret ingredient. It's water from a river, a very special one. It enhances everything. People say it has magical qualities.
Tunde's interest piqued. He had been hearing whispers of such things, mysterious waters, secret ingredients, but he had never encountered something so openly discussed in a restaurant. He knew he had to investigate further. He was not one to let go of his story, and now he was more determined than ever to uncover the truth behind Tolu's kitchen. He began to dig deeper. He spoke to people who had worked at the restaurants, asking questions about the food, about the ingredients, and about Ife. He also made a trip to Ile-Oluji, Tolu's hometown, to gather more information. What he found was shocking. Tunde uncovered old stories about the Ife River, its mystical properties, and the spiritual practices that went along with it. The river was rumored to be blessed by spirits, and the water had been used for centuries by Tolu's family to heal and enhance food. It wasn't just about the flavor, it was about power. Tunde said to himself in disbelief after speaking to an elder in the village.
This water is not just about taste. People have been using it to connect with something far greater. What has Tolu gotten herself into?
He confronted Tolu one evening as the restaurant began to wind down for the night. She had been on edge all day, and when Tunde walked in, she knew he had been snooping around. Tunde said firmly to her,
I know about the water, Tolu, the Ifeodu. People are starting to get addicted to it. You don't realize what you are doing. You are playing with something you don't fully understand.
Tolu at first tried to deny it, but the truth hung in the air like a heavy cloud. The more Tunde pushed, the more Tolu realized that she had been blinded by her own ambition. Then Tolu spoke in a trembling voice.
You don't understand, Tunde. This is everything I've worked for. I need it. The water is the only thing keeping me going. It's the secret to my success.
Despite Tunde's warnings, Tolu couldn't stop. The restaurant continued to thrive, but she could feel herself fading. The Ifeodu water was no longer just an ingredient. It had become an addiction. Every time she felt herself sleeping, she would beg a trip back to Ile-Oluji, to the river that had given her the strength she needed to succeed. But something was changing. The more she used the water, the more she felt empty inside. It was as if the food was no longer just filling the bellies of her customers. It was filling a hole in her, one that grew bigger with each use. Tolu started experiencing strange dreams, visions of her grandmother by the river, calling her to stop, telling her the price had been paid. But each time she woke up, she ignored it. She couldn't stop, not now. One night, Tolu sat alone, her hands trembling as she poured the water into a pot.
Why do I feel this way? Why can't I stop? I've given everything for this. I can't let it go.
On a fateful day, after an exhausting trip to Ile-Oluji, Tolu stood by the river, staring at the flowing water. The moonlight shimmered on the surface and the voices of the spirits whispered through the trees. She could feel the weight of her decisions, the cost of her success. The time had come to make a choice. He heard Ebisi's voice echoing in her mind. The water gives, but it also takes. You've taken enough, Tolu. It's time to let go. Tolu knew she couldn't keep using the water. The cost was too high. She had to let go, for her own peace of mind, for her health, and for her future. Then Tolu started whispering to the river.
I am done. I won't take any more. Thank you for everything, but I have to move on.
She returned to Lagos, made the decision to shut down Tolu's kitchen, and started afresh. She no longer needed the water. She found peace in the simple joy of cooking without relying on any mystical force. And in time, she built a new legacy, one that didn't need to take from others. In the end, Tolu found a deeper kind of success, one that didn't rely on secrets or shortcuts. She opened a new smaller restaurant that focused on honesty, fresh ingredients, and the love for cooking. Without the Ifeodu water, the food was still delicious, still comforting, but it came from a place of authenticity. Her journey was a reminder that true success doesn't come from shortcuts or hidden powers. It comes from within. Tolu had found peace, and with it, a renewed sense of purpose. And in the end, she understood what her grandmother had always tried to teach her. The price of success is not worth it if it costs you your soul. Hello fam, thank you for watching. Please consider subscribing to our channel if you are yet to do that. Like and share this video, and until we meet on our next story. Bye.